In the 1990s, Rare was one of the greatest game companies in the entire industry, with them creating some of the most innovative games of all time then. So today, I wanted to count down my top 5 personal favorites. While not their best known game, Blast Corps for the Nintendo 64 is a little classic that's insanely fun. The entire point of the game is to destroy everything in your path in the limited amount of time you are given. And while that may seem simple enough, there's actually quite a bit of strategy to it, and the later levels give you quite the challenge. While at first appearing as an action game with all the massive explosions, I like to personally think of it as a fast-paced puzzle game with the player having to figure out the best strategy to get all the structures demolished on time. Because of the large variety of vehicles you're able to control, the gameplay stays fresh throughout Blast Corps, including giant robots the player is able to operate. It's a shame that we were never able to get a Blast Corps 2, because I think the systems we have today can make a wonderful home to a game made specifically for wrecking everything in sight, especially when you consider the limitations they had creating it on the Nintendo 64. I know a lot of people will put the original 2 Banjo games at the top of their list for content Rareware has put out, and while I understand their love for the series, I never personally was a fan of the collectathon genre, so the fact that even I put Banjo Kazooie at the number 4 spot is a testament to how good it really is. I think what really draws me to this game is that even though you have to go around collecting objects, it never feels like the developers were trying to use it to pad the length of the game like other collectathon titles. Also, Banjo Kazooie's soundtrack is quite possibly one of the greatest of all time. The sheer number of memorable songs is staggering, and just thinking about it has me humming Treasure Trove Cove in my head. Even though most people think of Mario 64 when you ask about the best platformer on the system, I will always point to the Banjo titles. I never really understood why people are so eager to compare Diddy Kong Racing with the Mario Kart series. Sure, they both have karts in them, but other than that, they are on completely different ends of the racing subgenre. And while I still prefer Mario Kart 64, I enjoy Diddy Kong Racing for separate reasons. What the people at Rare did with the kart racing subgenre is pretty incredible. While Mario Kart is all about racing and rubber band AI to keep the competition close, Diddy Kong Racing provides more of a skill-based racer where you can't rely on getting a blue shell to hit someone out of first place. The game's campaign mode is also genius, with one of my personal favorite overworlds to explore, and the ability to choose between karts, hovercrafts, and airplanes provides a varied experience that creates hours of fun. While yes, even though I still prefer Mario Kart, Diddy Kong Racing will always hold its place as a much more intricate single-player experience that other racing games have never been able to offer, which is why it's my 3rd favorite game Rare has created. As I sat here deciding on my final placement of the games that would make up this list, I noticed that there were a lot of Nintendo 64 titles, and while I considered changing things up for the sake of variety, I decided to keep it the way it was because these games deserve the spots they received. But easily my favorite of all the games Rare created for Nintendo's 3rd generation system is Goldeneye. While I can sit here all day and go on about how well it captured the spirit of the movie, revolutionized first-person shooters, and helped pick up sales of the Nintendo 64 in a time when PlayStation was taking over the console market, I think we all know these things by now because this game is a masterpiece, and showed that a movie tie-in game didn't have to be bad. While the story mode is terrific, the majority of my time playing GoldenEye was on split-screen multiplayer. The ability to pick from such a large cast of characters, levels, modes, and weapon types made it the perfect party game to play with friends to this very day. The music is likewise fantastic, with it furthering the game's wonderful atmosphere. As I play GoldenEye, I actually start to believe I'm James Bond, and this was all done on the limited restraints of the Nintendo 64. If you haven't already, please try this game out. You won't regret it. Not only is Donkey Kong Country my favorite Rare game, but also one of my favorite video games of all time, because even though it's over 20 years old, it still holds up to this very day. This is one instance where a game gets as close to perfect as possible. I'm truly not exaggerating. The 3D graphics still look great, the level design is finely crafted, and the game's music is incredibly catchy, with its soundtrack still being used as the basis to Donkey Kong game music to this very day. I also felt that the game's difficulty and length were perfect, with nothing ever feeling impossibly hard while also giving a challenge. Plus, it didn't overstay its welcome. I know others like Donkey Kong Country's sequel, Diddy Kong's Quest, better, but to me the first one did everything right. All the elements were nailed perfectly the first time around, and to me it's the greatest rare game of all time, if not the best of all video games. Well, there you have my top 5 personal favorite rare games. And if you have any of your own that I didn't mention on this list, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. So until next time, thanks for watching.